Before we get to the episode today, I want to thank our sponsor, Surf Prep Sanding. Whether you're looking for the highest quality of sanders, dust extractors, or abrasives, Surf Prep has what you need to take your project to the next level. I've been using Surf Prep for a couple of years now and know firsthand the quality of their products. The amazing family who stands behind their brand is by far the best in the industry. Use code MAKERLOUNGE, all one word, for 10% off your order at surfprepsanding.com. Thank you to Surf Prep and our patrons for sponsoring this episode. As always, I'll give a shout out to our top tier patrons at the end of the episode. If you want to get in on that Maker Lounge podcast community action, head over to patreon.com/MakerLoungePodcast. And you can also watch these episodes on YouTube. They drop on YouTube on Thursdays, so a little bit earlier than if you're listening to them on your podcast streaming service. Welcome to the Lounge. I'm Matt with Voltler Woodworking and your host of the Maker Lounge podcast, where every Friday we have a rotating group of makers hanging out and talking shop with each other. There aren't many people that can make Baltic birch make me feel the way that I do when I see his projects. Not only can he make wood melt, his signature style on patterned plywood will make you question everything you ever thought about plywood. Some of his most popular videos include a melting table, Murphy bar, and unique patterned plywood projects. With over 500,000 YouTube subscribers, congrats by the way, and a dozen of maker collabs under his belt, Michael Alm. Thanks for joining me.
Happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me, Matt.
The music dropped out a little bit early on me on that one.
Yeah, it got real quiet all of a sudden.
I gotta narrow down my long-winded intros.
Yeah, you gave me a lot of accolades in that one. I appreciate it.
We like to let people know what is in store for the episode. And I do a little bit of research. Some people are easy to research. Like, you were fairly easy to go back and, I've been following you for a while, so I'm familiar with what you're doing.
Nice.
But for the people who aren't following you, which they should be, what is AlmFab and Michael Alm in a nutshell?
Yeah, so I'm a woodworking YouTuber, which I've started actually introducing myself as that to strangers now.
Like, what do you do for a living?
Yeah, woodworking YouTuber. And then people are like, really? And I'm like, yeah. So yeah, I produce about a video, 1 to 2 videos a month on the channel. And like you said, a big part of what I do is pattern plywood. That's something that I've popularized. I don't know if I can claim to invent anything in woodworking, but I definitely
plenty of people do.
Yeah, I definitely expanded it well beyond what I'd seen before, and so that's where you take Baltic birch plywood, preferably, or nicely laminated multi-ply, and you cut it apart into a whole bunch of different shapes, and then you glue it back together, and you end up with various patterns. And it's kind of an endless thing that every time I get a chance to experiment with it, I learn something new. So share that on the channel. I also do a lot of build videos. I do furniture builds, as you mentioned, like the Murphy bar. I seem to have a thing for like convertible furniture, small space living kind of things. I built the elevator table, which is a coffee table that converts into a 6-person dining table.
Awesome.
And then, yeah, I had come from a sculpture background, so a lot of my pieces are pretty sculptural too. Like you mentioned, the melting table, which is power carved curly maple that I made look like it made it look like a melting cake. Like, you see those cakes that have like the overflow of chocolate. That's what I kind of based it on.
The fondant of wood.
Yes.
the fondant table.
Yeah, I'm the chocolatier of woodworking.
Show title. The chocolatier. Yeah. The name basically says it all. But then if somebody's just listening to this, you're like, oh, I've got to go see that melted wood table. What is that? So I'll try to grab a couple snapshots and put it on the YouTube for people to see.
My biggest regret is I made a beautiful walnut version of it for a buddy of mine. Like, he just commissioned me, and I was like, oh, I've already shot this video. I'm not going to shoot another one of the.
Oh no!
Really dumb. It was a really dumb decision because the walnut one came out even better than the first one, because I learned so much from making the first one that the second one was like worlds better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to make a third one, I think is what that means.
Out of zebra wood.
Ooh, wow, that'd be something else.
Very expensive. Maybe a mini version. Like where you do the whole episode and it or the whole video and it looks like it's a full built table, but then you find out it's only like 10 inches high.
Yeah, I heard
pan out.
I was talking with some people at Workbench Con, and they were talking about their thumbnails and how they'll like expand the size of their slabs in post in Photoshop to make it look more dramatic.
Yeah, and then you watch the video, you're like, hey, wait a minute, you got ripped off. Yeah, I'm learning so much about titles and thumbnails, and you've got a great page. If you look at your YouTube page, you got it seems like a good direction on what you're doing there.
Thanks.
Which, that's part of your success, I think, is getting the eyeballs.
I mean, thumbnails don't hurt. I put a lot of energy into them. I have fun with them. It's a chance for me to really photograph what I'm making in a dramatic way. And I've leaned pretty hard into it in the last few thumbnails. And my most recent one is I used like a lot of lighting. I don't know. It gives me a chance to actually. It's just another kind of venue for creativity. And if you can create, like, I try and make thumbnails where if somebody sees that, there's no mistaking that it's an AlmFab thumbnail. I'm not trying to mimic anybody else. I'm just trying to create my own style.
Yeah. And there's people who you look at their channels and then you're like, okay, subscriber count, amazing. Then you scroll down their page and it's a consistent pattern. It's like, oh, okay, that's, when you go to that person's page, like there's consistency across all the videos. How have you kind of evolved over the last few years? Well, actually, you started the channel how long ago?
I started in January of 2017.
Okay.
So I think it's 6 years.
Okay.
A little over 6 years.
Yeah.
I'm not great at math, but
me either.
So we'll say it's a little over 6 years. Yeah. So I started the channel with like I just made a tripod handle because that was my excuse for not making videos, because my tripod was broken, and so I filmed it on my phone, and then the next video I filmed with a better camera. And I mean the first 10 videos are kind of garbage, but I was learning, and every video I added something else in, like I started by adding in the better camera, and then I added in music, and then I just was learning to edit, and gradually I built up to doing voiceovers, which that was like a sea change on my channel, was when I started actually talking about what I was doing as opposed to just like being like, you figure it out.
Yeah. Well, the Murphy bar was no voiceover, right?
Yeah. It falls in that like early stages. I think it's maybe even a year before I started doing voiceovers. That's a really early one, which I think I've actually thought about re-editing it and doing like a director's cut or like Michael in the future.
Yeah.
I may just build another one, because that would be really fun to revisit, and we could use one in our house. So
yeah, because that was a commission build, right?
Yeah, that was built for my buddy who also he helps me with editing, and he's the one that helps me shoot my final shots. He comes in here and like he shows me all the tricks to lighting things really cool, and we're super good friends. So that was a commission that was a commission in trade. Yeah, because he paid it off in like editing and assistance. So. Yeah.
Is he the same guy that came with the camera for the hand plane stuff that you've been doing recently?
Yeah. He he was the one. He's like, if we got extra time, Michael, let's strap your camera to your hand plate. And I'm like, really?
Tell me
I'm like,
more.
Sure, why not? We'll
Yeah.
give it a go. And I haven't posted that footage yet. I will post it soon, but it's pretty hilarious.
Yeah, I've seen the stuff on Instagram, and when I first saw the setup, I was like, I wonder how this is gonna look. Like, is it gonna look like it's planing, or is it gonna just look like it's floating, or like it's dubbed over, or whatever?
It looked way better than I expected, because you could feel like it was really awkward to try and push through, and like, because the grip, most of like the thing that we used, I can't remember, it's like a magic arm gripper thing. I can't remember the actual term for it, but the thing that we used was like gripped onto the hand.
Thing.
Yeah, it was a Manfrotto part, and it was gripped onto the handle, so I had to grip onto that gripper and try and push the hand plane through, which is like super awkward.
But lots of wax.
Lots of wax. Yeah, people kept telling me to use wax in the comments, and I was like, I coated the thing in wax, but it's just like,
Sponsored by Carbon Method.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that stuff. I'm gonna be getting some here soon, because all the shots that everybody's posting, it makes your table saw into like a hockey puck, or like a ice hockey thing.
Yeah, I've seen a couple. I think I saw Mark Spagnuolo's video on that, and it looks like crazy stuff.
Yeah. So going back to your visual style, and your you were doing sculptures and stuff before. You had some stuff that were like in galleries and whatnot.
Yeah, I actually weirdly have an art show coming up.
Wow.
Yeah, perfect. It's going to be in June, so I don't know. I'm imagining this will come out before June.
Yeah.
So
depends how long that edit takes.
Yeah, I studied art in college. I studied sculpture, and I kept a steady art career in galleries up until through the time that basically up until the pandemic, up until 2020, and so I've been showing in galleries. I've shown my sculptures and some painting work over the years, and most of my sculptures, the ones that I'm kind of known for, are these animal anatomy studies out of wood. So they're like cross sections, and it like there's carved elements, and then I use veneers like muscle fiber. It's sort of like one of those inside out diagrams that you would see like at a doctor's office, where it's like, this is, how an eyeball works, but it's like more animal like physiology, so bones and muscles, and so I was big natural history nerd as a kid growing up, and went to a bunch of natural history museums, so it was kind of me just like what I was inspired by. So I figured out ways of wet bending thin strips of wood to form these muscle fibers, and built a whole series out of it.
So you're the chocolatier of wood, and you're also the taxidermist of wood.
Yeah. Actually, that's a good taxidermist of wood. Yep, that's pretty much what I do.
Yeah, they're really cool. So I guess did you like hunt and stuff like that, or did you ever like have a fascination with animals? And
I've always liked animals, always liked sort of comparative anatomy and understanding how animals evolved, reading books about, I love those animal documentaries,
National Geographic type stuff.
Yeah, I grew up watching those, so I just found it really inspirational to, I used to draw a lot of animals in college, and so I ended up, seeing if I could adapt that to sculptures, which was super fun. Yeah. And I'm hoping to get back to in the not too distant.
Yeah. When was the last time you did one of those?
I was trying to figure that out. I think it was like 2019 was probably the last time I built a full sculpture, and I don't think I did it on YouTube. Maybe I did a couple wings. I do these veneer wing pieces that I have a couple of YouTube videos on, and actually my YouTube channel was built with the idea that it would be like an art YouTube, not a woodworking YouTube.
Right.
But I found that, especially in the early days in 2017, SEO content was big, and the only way I could get anyone to look at my videos was if I made a piece of furniture, not
Right.
if I made a piece of art.
Yeah.
That's developed a lot since then. Like,
Oh man.
the art YouTube world is huge now. I mean, people like Bobby Duke and Blake McFarlane.
Like McFarlane, yeah. BM Sculptures.
He's amazing, and he's been doing incredibly well with his sculptures, and we have a lot in common with like our interests.
Yeah.
It's funny. I met him before he was making YouTube videos. We just connected online. Someone friend of his was just like, you should see Michael's art, and so we connected over art, and he's a good dude.
Yeah, you're kind of a mix of Nick Sawyer and Sawyer Design, who does a lot of like curvature and stuff like that in his builds. Very
his stuff's
artistic.
Insane.
Yeah. And Blake, where you have that stuff in common. Very unique style, which is one of the main reasons why I wanted you on here, not to just talk about patterned plywood and stuff like that, which you're very well known for.
We can talk about that too.
Yeah. We'll get to it for sure, because I'm sure people are intrigued on how you come up with different designs, and how do you level up on your previous build with patterned plywood.
I mean, I feel like I say this over and over again, but I feel like patterned plywood is so vast that I'm not really concerned about outdoing it. I'm more concerned about not being able to find Baltic birch than I am about not coming up with some new designs. So I just got a lathe in my shop, so that opens a whole another world of patterned plywood options. I've been wanting to turn it for a really long time. I know I've done a little bit of carving of it, and it's really cool to see the patterns warp with the carving, and that's something that I really want to try some more of. And adding veneers into it is something that I touched on, and then I built the bowl, the segmented bowl, and that is took it to a whole nother level. So I've got some thicker colored veneers here that I got from Grow Rocket that I really want to test out. It's endless. And I think it's really cool because there's like a little community that's grown up around patterned plywood. There's a lot of people out there making odds and ends and experimenting with it. I'm learning a lot from what they're experimenting with.
Yeah. I think I chatted with you about Miles and seeing some of the stuff that Miles is doing. And, and being so young, what is he, like 18, 19, something like that?
Something like that. He's a freshman in college.
Yeah, like, dude, this kid's going to go somewhere, He's not
absolutely.
living midlife crisis like me,
He's like, I mean, his skill levels are just insane.
Yeah.
I'm always, and from early on, I met him at Maker Faire, probably like 2018 or something like that. And he was like in middle school or something like that. He's like half the height he is now.
Right. Yeah.
And he was already making cool stuff. So it's really cool to see his growth and we talk pretty often, and we just have really similar interests, and he's an incredible draftsman, and he's like, incredible woodworker. I can't even imagine what he's going to end up doing.
Yeah. Editing and stuff like that. When you and I make a video a month apart, we look exactly the same. When he makes a video a month apart, you're like, oh, this is a new kid on his channel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you're like, you and I, we forget, oh shoot, I got to shoot that B-roll, and it's 3-4 weeks later. It's no problem, but when your hair is growing out and you have a mustache all of a sudden in the next shot, makes it a little harder. So you're doing stuff with like colored veneers and trying to incorporate more color in your design.
Yeah, I think the one thing with patterned plywood is that it kind of it can get lost at a distance. It almost starts to look like a it starts to look like a texture rather than a pattern when you step away from it. And the nice thing about the colored, like, darker veneers is that it gives it some contrast, which is fantastic. And it really allows you, because I've had trouble photographing it for thumbnails. It's really hard for it to show up. Yeah. Like the tambour cabinet that I did, where it's patterned plywood tambour, like contrast 100%, you just bump it up
Right.
because otherwise you don't see it. It doesn't photograph. You see it in person, and it actually has that like chatoyance. It glows in the light and changes color, which it's hard to see. And
I'm gonna have to write that word down.
Chatoyance.
That's a good one.
Yeah, $100 word right there.
I was gonna say 500, but I'll give you 100.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The trying to capture some of that stuff that I know it's got to just look amazing in person. It looks good on video, but it's hard to capture like when you do a huge cabinet, tambour cabinet or something like that. It's hard to capture the scale of something like that, especially if you're trying to fit it in a thumbnail.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the thumbnail is so hard. It's the same issue that I had with my sculptures, is that it's like hard to capture a sculpture in one image. And as an artist, I'm trying to promote myself by flat images. And that's just why video is a better medium, and why so many creators are going to video, because a still image just doesn't read the way that you want it to.
Yeah. I do like the fact that like when you're hovering over a video now, it starts auto playing. So you have like a few extra seconds to capture somebody. Which can also
I'm
hurt
wondering
you.
when. Yeah, I know. I'm wondering when they're going to go to just like, animated thumbnails. Maybe that'd be too annoying to see all the animations. TikTok kind of does that, where, you'll see a person like move slightly.
Yeah, it's the boomerang effect.
Yeah.
And if it catches you in the wrong spot, it looks very awkward.
It's true.
Yeah, you started doing a couple different pattern plywood projects, and then it kind of took you out of the sculpture stuff for a little bit, and then you started doing videos that people were resonating with, right? Which would be my guess, is you're kind of reading the comments and then trying to shift your channel around that kind of stuff. But you're also doing commission builds at the time?
Yeah. I started off doing a lot of commission builds. The Murphy bar was technically a commission build, but I also did a Murphy bed, which is one of the top videos on my channel, which surprised me, shocked me. I did that at the start of the pandemic. It was like it was a client that asked me to do it before we knew about COVID. And then we waited several months to learn more. We still didn't really understand COVID, but we were like, well, if we keep the windows and doors open and you wear a mask the whole time, it's a weird video because I'm wearing like an RZ mask, which is not even the right kind of mask. But I didn't even know. It was all new. So it's kind of funny to go back and rewatch that video, but that was a commission. And there's a couple odds and ends commissions on my channel. I also was doing commissions in the background between videos. Like I dropped the first pattern plywood video for it was the Rockler one sheet of plywood challenge that was put on by the Modern Maker podcast guys. And that was the first pattern plywood video. And after that, I took a hiatus for 3 or 4 months to build my friend's kitchen. And then I came back on the channel. So there's like it was like the most popular video I'd seen. I was like, I got to do more of this pattern plywood stuff. And then it was like, I'm sorry, I have a full-time job that I can't come back. And so fortunately, I came back to the channel and people were still willing to watch my stuff.
Yeah. So, but now you're doing this full-time, right?
Yeah. Because during the pandemic, I pretty much was like, no more clients, and I'm just going to see how long I can go without taking a client.
Right. And it's been going pretty well, I guess. Just crossed 500K on YouTube. What's and then Instagram, about what, closing on 90, 100,000?
90, yeah.
That's
Hopefully
awesome.
In the next couple weeks I'll hit 90. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. I get the only thing about Instagram that I started kind of realizing toward the end of the year last year was like it's hard to monetize anything just because of the platform is so weird. If you click in on your link tree or whatever you've got, and then sometimes the links get lost, like there's no follow through on affiliates and stuff like that. It's a tough platform.
It's a glitchy platform. And Yeah, there's so much going on, and yeah, I mean, my favorite part of Instagram is stories, and I just really like the interaction on there. I like watching other people's stories, which is probably why I like to create for stories. It's so easy in the middle of the day. I can just hold the camera in front of my face, explain what's going on, and everybody gets behind the scenes.
Right.
And I can ask questions. I love asking questions of people while I'm working on projects. The hive mind is pretty awesome. And but I mean, it's a platform that I fall in and out of love with pretty often.
Yeah.
I was actually posting my stories for a little bit, which I was kind of enjoying. Just being like, I'll edit my stories, make them shorter, and Instagram seemed to like that for a little while, and then it lasted for like 2 months, and then it's fallen off and it's quiet again. But
yeah, the algorithm changed.
I mean, yeah, it's disheartening sometimes to be like working hard or edit a really nice video. I was editing super nice videos for Instagram and getting no traction, and I'm like, why am I putting this effort and energy in when like I can literally hold it in front of my face, talk to it, turn it into a reel, and that does like 4 times better.
Yeah. I found that on that platform, whenever I dedicated more than 20 minutes on something, it was not going to perform. I mean, sometimes I'd spend 30, 40 minutes, and I'm like, and then traction is just piss poor, and then something that I do a quick 10-second, couple shots or something like that, it's like, oh yeah, I mean, that one's a banger. This one got 100,000, 200,000 views or whatever, versus the one that I spent 4 times the amount of time on.
No, that's why I really like YouTube a lot more. It feels a little bit more like you're building an audience. You are building a style. Like as an artist, I really like to think about the style of my videos and, the style of the thumbnail and sort of the energy that you feel when you're in the video and all that. And that feels so much more rewarding when you put out a video, people are into it. And like, I don't mind spending a month on a video. I do that really frequently. And it, 30 minutes long, and it, it's like an episode of TV. Right. And, that energy goes in and it comes back out as like, positivity and growth. And, I learned something in the process and I'm growing as a creator, but I find that Instagram frustrates me more than inspires me. And that's a problem.
Right. Yeah. I was posting regularly. I've said this before on the podcast, but I was posting regularly for over a year. I mean, basically every day, and I saw tremendous growth. So don't get me wrong on that, and that was great. But it wasn't a ton of engagement, like authentic engagement, and it was hit or miss on how it was going to perform. It's not like on YouTube when you have a good title and thumbnail, you're pretty much, as long as you've got that hook and you follow the steps, the prescription of YouTube, it should show up, right? Like, I mean, there's more. I guess what I'm saying is there's more. Your probability of failure is less if you're following all the right steps.
Yes, it's harder.
Yes,
I think
100%.
As a medium, it's a lot harder.
Yeah.
It requires a lot more effort. But if you do, I mean, not to say that there's a perfect formula to YouTube. I think the perfect formula to YouTube is like being authentic, being yourself, and pacing well, like keeping people engaged. In whatever capacity that means for your channel, because some channels are really relaxing and slow and other channels are super fast paced and there's no quiet moment in them, and those can both work. But it is about sort of, it takes a lot of like discipline to be successful on YouTube, but it is there are things that you can learn to improve, and there's very practical advice. Whereas I feel like on Instagram, I don't know what strategic advice I'd have for anyone.
No.
Like I told people at WorkbenchCon what I was doing because my my subscriber base doubled in the last 3 months.
Oh, wow.
Which is crazy. I haven't seen that much growth in 2 years or ever. Maybe I haven't seen that much growth ever, obviously. And my only thing was I was posting stories as reels. I was posting more often. And then I had a couple odds and ends videos get millions of views. I don't know why.
Right.
I don't know why those were the ones. I tried to replicate them as you do.
Right.
And, it doesn't really, it's frustrating. Like I feel like YouTube, you can hit on something. Like I always, when I saw pattern plywood, I kept going for it, and that's like a genuine. I like, this is a thing that I'm enjoying, and I can relay how much I'm enjoying it to the audience, and I can tell a story about it, and I can grow that story over multiple episodes, and people are into it. But I don't feel that on Instagram as much.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, you have, like, you spend a lot of time on your title and thumbnail. Are you focused on that? Is that energy front loaded? Are you thinking about that before you do the video, or you?
I'd like to say that I am, but I'm really not.
Yeah.
I keep like a notes app note while I'm building the project, and I'll write down titles as I go. But I will be honest, like most of the time I wake up the morning of the video and I'm like, oh, this one's better. It takes me that long. I don't build a video. I know a lot of creators I talk to at WorkbenchCon said that they build the video around the title, and it seems like a cool way to work. I mean, you can actually, like, maybe come up with some like an actual plan before you start. My plan is the project, and I'm excited about the project. Yeah. And so like, it's like, I'm going to build an office. I don't know what that's going to look like. And then, this it's the room I'm sitting in now, but that was not like I'm solving my own problems. And what I've found is that if I'm genuinely solving my own problems, there will be other people out there who have the same problem. Like, they need a home office, they need storage in their garage, they need a Murphy bed, they need, or it's something that people are just, interested in how you made it, because it's so different. And those are the kind of my two aims: is I'm either solving somebody's problem, or I'm creating something that you haven't necessarily seen from another creator before. I tend to try and avoid following too many trends in all of social media, because I would rather create my own path. Yeah.
Well, you're creating your own trend. I mean, if you Google pattern plywood, your pictures are sure to show up.
Yeah. So, good luck stealing that one from me.
Yeah. Like you said, there's nothing new, and it's not like you've cornered the market on the idea, right? But like I said, you're very well known in this space. But as other people start taking on doing pattern plywood type stuff, do you use that to kind of like propel you to come up with new ideas? Or?
Well, I mean, I said that kind of flippantly, that try and take that away from me. I don't really mean that. I mean, I really encourage other people to try it. I encourage people to make videos about it. I've seen a lot of really good videos about pattern plywood from other people. Someone made it glow at one point.
Oh, wow. And I knew you were joking, by the way.
Yeah, okay. I just want to be clear about that, because I really don't. I'm not here to own an idea. I'm here to like share these ideas, and that's really important to me. So it's super cool. I'm trying to remember Jesus's handle, but he did a video on, he was at WorkbenchCon. He did a video on how to bend pattern plywood, and he kerf bent pattern plywood.
Oh, wow.
And I was convinced that was impossible. So that's just so cool to see, and I want people to like take it in their own shop and expand the medium, because it's not just like a...
Well, you're like the Jimmy DiResta of pattern plywood. I mean, he's got like his certain like people, and then people start doing stuff that kind of follow him, but it's like it's an homage to him, right? So I think you're kind of paving the way for a lot of people, and I think that's really cool. And it's great that you show people how to do it. It's not secretive.
Yeah, I think the gatekeeping thing or the like, this is mine thing, it just doesn't work in this community, and it's
No.
not fun. It's not fun for anybody. It's
No.
not fun to defend that stuff, and it's not fun to feel like guilty for
Like river tables.
Yeah. let's not go down that road.
That was so 2017.
That's so 2017.
I think that was about the right time, right? About 2017.
Yeah, 2017, 2018, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. But you, so not only do you do the woodworking stuff, but you also have a metalworking shop, I think, that we don't get to see a lot of, right?
Yeah, it doesn't get a lot of use. I do have a metalworking shop. Most of my sculptures in college were out of steel, and I love working in steel. But I don't like. I'm not a craftsman in steel like I am in wood because I just haven't had. I enjoyed it in college. I know how to weld. I really like playing around with it. I'm not well set up. It's good enough to do furniture legs when I need to. The melting table has steel legs.
Yeah.
And I did some brazing. I did a light fixture. The pattern plywood light fixture has brazed brass that is was really fun, and that was great to have the metal shop.
Yeah.
But I'm actually going to downsize the metal shop a little bit. Ashley and I have been doing a lot of ceramics. We just got a throwing wheel.
Oh, wow.
And so we're enjoying. That's not going to be on YouTube ever. That's just something
Narrator.
for us to
it
enjoy.
In fact did go on YouTube.
Yeah, no, I don't. You got to save something for yourself, or you can just
you have to have
chill
a hobby,
and not
right?
not have to. I mean, I can't imagine the people who do ceramics, like on Instagram or YouTube. Like, how do you move the camera when your hands are covered in water and clay? Like, people say like sawdust is bad. I can't imagine like. Your hands covered in slip.
What was it? Was it Bodyguard or Ghost? Something, that movie where the hands slip around. You have to at least do one of those shots.
Oh, Ghost?
Ashley. Yeah, Ghost. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not going on YouTube, no matter.
Dang, my challenge has not been accepted.
Nope.
Well, so speaking of different things, if you were to pivot something on your channel, what would it be toward?
I think the sculpture. I would love to see that. And I've joked around that when I go into YouTube retirement, it'll just all be sculpture and art.
Yeah.
I think it'd be a fun switch. I don't see that happening anytime. I see like a video or two happening, hopefully in the next year or so. I keep saying that. I keep pushing it out. That's the problem is that they're so much more time consuming.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think people realize the dry times alone for the sculptures. The way that I would make them back in the day is I would glue like 6 or 7 strips on, pin them down, and then come back the next morning and glue 6 or 7 strips on and slowly build it up. And I really enjoyed that process. I'd have multiple going at the same time for shows, and then you really get to think and consider the form. And YouTube doesn't really, I mean, it's like I gotta at least get a video out a month, and I feel like that pacing is not going to work.
Right.
But I do want to, I just pulled out the rabbit sculpture, the jackrabbit that I made in 2014, and I'm cleaning it up. I'm building a crate for it because it's going to the Fuller Craft Museum just outside of Boston. And it's the year of the rabbit. So they've got they've got a show that's called Langomorphs, which is the scientific rabbit. I think it's their family or something like that.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, they're gonna show a whole bunch of rabbit artists, and so they found 2 of my sculptures will be featured there. But it's cool to see it again after this many years, and I'm like, I've learned a lot. I'm a much better woodworker. I have a lot of ideas of how I can make another one and improve on my craft.
Right.
Yeah.
How does something like that I mean, my dad enters in like for photography exhibits and stuff like that. So I know that you can win like awards and stuff like that. But are they also do they pay to have it on the exhibit there, or how does that work?
I'm not getting paid to show. I I think it's a pretty big deal to show in a museum.
Yeah.
I have been in, I think this might be my second museum show. And the last one was local. It was here. It was at the Bellevue Fine Art Museum in Bellevue, Washington. It's a pretty big honor to be in a museum show.
Definitely.
The museums will pay certain artists, but this is a group show, and they are paying the cost to ship. They're paying the insurance, and it's just I didn't even ask.
Honor.
I was just happy to be in a museum. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And then the other piece, is from a collector, and I believe that collector is the one that they met her, or they were at her space or something like that, and they saw my piece, and I think that's how I got in the loop of the museum, because I didn't send in my stuff. I haven't been pursuing that because I'm too busy these days but you can, there's definitely museums and galleries that you can submit your work to, and that's part of the job of being an artist, is constantly writing and sending out calls for artists, responding to them. There's there used to be a website called Cafe, which was a terrible website, but it's it was awful. It was designed in the 90s, and they left it alone. And it's how you
WordPress
submitted
site.
It felt like that. They had the animated floppy disk going into the computer as the load thing, no joke.
Wow.
And I
especially for artists, somebody who appreciates a visual experience.
Yeah, no. Oh man, it was terrible. I spent a lot of hours on Cafe, just reading through calls, and no, don't want to do that ever again.
So do when you do something like this, do you start getting calls, commissions and stuff like that? Or
I'm curious what's going to end up happening. I have a separate website. You can go to michaelalm.com, and you'll find all my sculptures and everything. And there's a contact page on there. I have a separate Instagram too for it. It's its own beast. But I imagine after this show, I'll have some people that I have to respond to and be like, I'm not taking commissions.
Yeah.
I have, but it's really hard to.
I'll sell you a rabbit.
If you're not. Yeah, exactly. I have some stuff in the storage room that is for sale, but it's unless you're actively promoting it, or have pricing sheets and stuff like that. It's like another job that I don't really need right now.
Yeah, you're busy enough. You're growing your empire on AlmFab.
Doing what I can.
Yeah. So I do want to talk about what's to come, but I know we're kind of running a little bit later, so maybe we can save that for the after show here.
Okay.
If you're cool to talk about that, I think you have some cool stuff coming up.
Oh yeah, I got lots of stuff coming up.
All right, let's talk about. You want to leave a teaser?
Yeah. So there's I'm gonna be doing a pretty big remodel soon. And it's going to involve a lot of woodworking, which I'm really excited about. People say I haven't built furniture for a while, and that's about to change. We can leave it at that.
Yeah, nice. Well, I look forward to hearing about that. Want to say thank you to you for being here, and we'll talk more in the after show. Thank you to SurPrep for sponsoring this episode, and then also thank you to our Rockstar patrons. All of our patrons are awesome. We like to give a shout out to the Rockstar patrons. We got Jimmy McAnally, Artigiano Serio, Wimm Design, Calvary Customs LLC, Cleancut Woodworking, Bailey Thompson, Dave Garcia, Broken Lead Woodworks, Starks Lagoon, Sawyer Design, Kodama Design, Dylan Furniture, and Shock the Fox. So head over to patreon.com/MakerLoungePodcast if you want to hear what he's got coming up. Thanks for listening. After show. That's how easy it is.
I feel like I should have said goodbye in the end. I was just enthralled with your outro.
Oh, yeah, I probably should have let you say goodbye.
That's all right.
You
can add it in post.
I'll have AI.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.